I was had y'all, it's your boy Rico from Street Scores, and we're here to do a full, extremely detailed breakdown of how the Commanders can beat the Eagles again. You know what I'm saying? Don't forget we beat them last year. We're definitely gonna need a big game from Buddy right here behind me. To your right. But yeah, man, we're gonna need a big game from him. We're gonna break down quarterback. We're gonna break down offensive line, the running game, the Commanders wide receivers. Man, I know we're putting a lot of blame on Sam Howell, a lot of blame on Eric Bieniemy, a lot of blame on his offensive line. But I'm gonna present to y'all a lot of advanced stats all across the board, offense and defense, but also some advanced stats that point to, hey, a lot of the blame can also be placed on this receiver group. Also have a nice little screenshot for you to see to back that up as well. Also, we're breaking this down into several categories. First of all, we're gonna look at like what the Eagles are doing to kind of get an edge on certain things. And the NFL took out one thing, but they're still utilizing a couple of other ones. And Jack Del Rio even acknowledged one of them and was basically like, we're just gonna have to overcome that. Of course, we got to scout the enemy. We're gonna take a look at the Eagles, what they do well, what they don't do well, and how the Commanders compare, and where are our best options of taking advantage of the Eagles and putting up points or stopping them wherever we need to stop them. Also, we're going to do a full breakdown of where the Commanders need to improve. That's going to be like the majority of this video. And then also, we're going to talk about how we beat the Eagles last year towards the end of the video. Like, what did we do right last year? Can we repeat it this upcoming season with who we have on the team? And then lastly, I'm also going to give y'all the current injury update. Most notably, Logan Thomas looks like he's back and he should play against the Eagles. So we're going to talk about all of that and more. But before we dive into all of that, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Every week, man, I'm here gonna be live streaming all the games, all 4 quarters. I always start live streaming like 30 minutes before the game. So if we play at 1, I start live streaming at 12:30. We play at 4:30, I start live streaming at 4. We play at 8, start live streaming at 7:30. That's how it's always gonna go. Be on the lookout for all of these preview videos each week, also game review videos, live streams, all of that type of stuff. So man, stay tuned. And also, YouTube is still tripping, so if you want to support the channel in any way, leave a like, that's free. Subscribe, that's free. Hit the bell next to the subscription button, that's free. And if you want to donate to the channel, the CashApp is $RicoScores, and the PayPal is WilliamHC94@gmail.com. So if y'all appreciate this content, these deep dives, these crazy advanced stats and super breakdowns, really appreciate that. And without further ado, man, let's get to it. Let's get it.
You tell your family you can be a commander.
All right, so first of all, let's start with the Eagles are doing right now, why they need to chill out. Let's go ahead and get it out the way, man. Right tackle Lane Johnson has technically kind of been cheating for a while now. He always gets this early start where he starts to back up before the ball is even snapped, and for some reason, the refs do not call it. It's crazy because Jawan Taylor for the Chiefs did it one game, and I think it was like I guess Monday night game or Thursday night. It may have been like the first game of the season. I think it was against the Detroit Lions. But either way, after that, the NFL was like, we need to put an emphasis on that, and they've been purely focusing on stopping him from doing that. And it's like basically considered illegal tackle alignment, basically. But Lane Johnson's still doing it. Even after they came out and said that, Lane Johnson is still doing it. So, man, Chase Young and Montez Sweat, again, Montez Sweat, who you see right behind me right now. We're expecting big games out of you. We're going to need big games out of you. But, man, hey, refs, can you please pay attention to the fact that Lane Johnson is literally false starting and not getting called for it, and it's clearly giving him a strategic advantage over the edge rushers he's going against. I mean, look at what he did against Nick Bosa on this play right here. Like, come on, dog. Like, what is an edge rusher supposed to do when the offensive lineman is allowed to false start pretty much every play? Can we please crack down on that? But even if they don't, it's somewhere we're gonna have to work around, which is basically Jack Del Rio's whole motive and his whole mindset going into this. Because another thing is the Eagles do is that they have that tush push. We already, like, the NFL already did everything they could to outlaw how they run their read option. That was another way that they were basically bending the rules and you know, working loopholes in the NFL law book and stuff like that. But they now have this tush push thing. And I'm not gonna lie, as a Commanders fan, Of course I want the Eagles to stop because I'm a Commanders fan. We're not taking advantage of it. They are. But if I were an Eagles fan, of course I would love it for my team to bend some rules, whatever it takes to win. So I'm not even going to hate on the Eagles for doing all of this stuff at all. I do not hate on it at all. Of course, as a Commanders fan, I want it to come to an end because I'm tired of them having strategic advantages for these things. But am I like a hater like this needs to be outlawed and the Eagles are just dirty and grimy? No, I don't feel like that. Again, I would love it if my team found a way to take advantage of it as well, as long as the rules are in there that allow you to do it. But we need to crack down on that, Reds. Let's get on it. But also the tush push. I mean, they do this thing where like on QB sneaks, they have like the running backs come behind the quarterback and push them. Like that's the design play, to come in and push the quarterback forward to help him move forward. It's pretty bad. But when Jack Del Rio was asked about it, I think today, earlier after practice, he said, quote, "I like to see it eliminated, not just because they run it better than anybody, because other people do it too, but the Eagles are just the best at doing it." But he also said, "I just don't think it's a football play. It's a nice rugby play, but until it's outlawed, we'll just do our best to stop it," unquote. And that's the mentality you have to have going into this. That's the mindset you got to have, that until the NFL does something about it, ref wise and rule book wise, law wise, all of that type of stuff, you're just gonna have to work around it. I mean, it does feel like cheating, but hey, man, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. So again, even as a Commanders fans, I salute the Eagles. I want it to stop, but I salute them because I would hope my team could do the same things. And Jack Del Rio even acknowledged the fact that other teams do it. The Eagles are just the best at doing it. And so, of course, if we're not Eagles fans, we want the NFL to ban it. And of course, Eagles fans want it to stay in the game because they're the best at doing it. And so they're looking at us like, stop, hey, man, how about get good, get better type of thing. So I feel both sides, man. I ain't even mad at it, man. Do y'all thing. Now, next up, let's go ahead and scout the enemy. First of all, some of their new additions this offseason, they were already a dominant team. They went to the Super Bowl last year. I believe they had the best record in football and everything, especially in the NFC. I mean, they pretty much ran through everybody except us. We're going to talk about that a little later. But, man, even after that dominant performance they put last year, and they lost a couple of guys like CJ Gardner-Johnson, dominant defensive linemen, stuff like that. All they did was retool, and if anything, on paper they got better. They haven't looked better this season, but on paper they definitely got better. And just adding more Georgia Bulldogs, y'all already know, diehard Georgia Bulldog fans, so it pains my heart to have to root against these guys, but it is what it is, man. It's Commanders above all else. So I'm sorry, Jalen Carter. I'm sorry, DeAndre Swift. I'm sorry, Keely Ringo, Nakobe Dean, Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith. I got to actively root against all of y'all in this upcoming game. I got to root against y'all as if I never knew you and I never rocked with you before. I mean, it's like super duper no attachment for this game. As soon as the game ends, I'm right back on y'all side. What I actively do as a Commanders Georgia Bulldog fan, I root for all of my Georgia Bulldogs on the Eagles to go crazy, but I just actively root for them to lose. So I'm hoping like DeAndre Swift, not against the Commanders, but other teams, goes for 200 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns in a loss. That's the type of stuff I'm rooting for. I'm rooting for Jalen Carter to be the best defensive lineman in football, but they still lose type of stuff. So, but going back to the additions that they had, most notably a lot of the dominant Georgia Bulldogs they brought over, starting with offense. DeAndre Swift, boy, he's been killing it, man. That boy has been killing it. Miles Sanders pretty much dominated. Well, not even dominated, because it was fairly evenly split last year. But Miles Sanders, if anything, you consider him the lead back for the Eagles last year. But this year, it's clearly the DeAndre Swift show. Now, it didn't start that way. Like, we thought, like, after DeAndre Swift got traded to the Eagles during the draft, he may just come in and be running back one immediately. And he kind of looked like it in the preseason. But then the first couple of games, it was kind of like, okay, they're kind of using him, but not really. Not as much as you thought. And then he just bursted onto the scene. I think it was last week, maybe it was week 2. I think it was last week, week 3. Boy, that boy went stupid, man. That boy went stupid. And so now he's clearly their lead back like he should have been. Maybe they would just wait for him to learn the offense a little bit better, even though he had all of training camp to learn it and stuff, all of mandatory minicamp, everything, OTAs, but it took them at least more than a week to finally get him fully involved in the offense to the capacity that I thought he would, and he's taking full advantage of it right now. First of all, going into this game on Sunday against us, he is the league's second leading rusher with 308 yards, which is the best start of his career in any season he's played in. But he's also had a problem with injuries with the Detroit Lions. So, I mean, that is some of it. But, hey, man, that boy is going stupid. And then, of course, the Eagles just also have a really dominant run game, really good offensive line, have outside weapon threats that the Lions didn't necessarily have. They have Amon-Ra St. Brown, but they don't have that boy, Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown on the outside, Dallas Goedert, even just Jalen Hurts' ability to run the ball himself. It just makes the job easier for DeAndre Swift. It's just hard to stop all of those guys. So, you know, teams aren't necessarily focusing on stopping him. They're focusing on stopping other guys, and DeAndre Swift is just able to take advantage of that. But, man, he's been doing his thing right now. Because it's actually weird, too, because he's getting a lot of carries, but he's not getting a lot of receptions like you'd expect. He's been mostly used as a first, second. I mean, I guess he's played on third down, but he hasn't received as many receptions as you would think as a DeAndre Swift would. But, man, that boy is going stupid because right now he's leading the league in rushing average with 6.8 yards per carry right now. Out of all running backs that have at least 40 carries, he's leading the entire NFL in yards per carry. That's scary, man. 6.8 yards per carry. Every time he touches the ball is 6.8 yards. We can't have that. If we allow that, we lose. Point blank, period. So, man, a lot of these Eagles additions have made them even better than they were last year, and that's scary. Even though, again, they haven't necessarily played like it so far this year. Through these first 3 weeks, I mean, they're undefeated, but they don't look like the same Eagles from last year. They don't look like that momentum carry. And I feel like, if anything, they netted positive from the guys they lost versus the guys they gained. Of course, you know, I guess maybe I'm biased because a lot of the guys they gained were Georgia Bulldogs, but I still just feel like, hey, man, I think we could do something against this. I think we should be straight. But, hey, man, at the end of the day, they just haven't looked as good. They should be better, but they just haven't looked as good. And let's keep it that way. And if anything, make them look worse. So now also, boy, another addition that they got, a dominant force, is that boy Jalen Carter, man. And that's my boy. That's my boy. But can we not have that today? Can we not have that on Sunday, bro? Can you calm down? Actually, as a favor from a diehard Georgia Bulldog fan to my other Georgia Bulldogs that are currently on the Eagles, can y'all just do me a favor and chill out this one game? Most notably, Jalen Carter, bro. That boy has been different. I am definitely worried about Jalen Carter right now because you could argue he's going to be the best defensive lineman we've gone against so far this season. And the Bills made us look stupid on offense, and Jalen Carter is arguably one of the best defensive tackles already. Right now, he has the most pressures out of any defensive tackle in the league. Not defensive lineman, but defensive tackle. He also has the most hurries with 12 out of any defensive tackle, and the third most out of the entire league, no matter position. He's tied for the most forced fumbles out of any defender in the league, again, regardless of position, with 2. And his pass rush win rate of 21.9% through just 76 pass rushing snaps is absolutely ridiculous because he doesn't even play often. Like, he's not even out there a lot. It's just that when he comes in, he's just so efficient, it's ridiculous. Imagine with the numbers Jalen Carter would be putting up if he was actually like a starter. Jalen Carter doesn't get starting level minutes yet. And so hopefully he doesn't get that against us, and hopefully we can give him his first bad game of the NFL season so far. Remember, he was just drafted as a rookie. He should have never made it to the Eagles in the first place. All that off the field issue stuff, completely overblown. At this point, I just feel like it was scripted for the Eagles to end up getting him because there's absolutely no reason that arguably the best player in the entire draft class, regardless of position, ended up in the Eagles' lap, who just went to the Super Bowl. I mean, I know the pick they got was a trade from the Saints from a previous year. That wasn't their actual Super Bowl pick from making it to the Super Bowl, like the actual pick that they earned from making it to the Super Bowl. But still, man, the Super Bowl losers, I mean, right there in it, end up with arguably the best player in the draft class, and he's playing like it right now. Again, we're not even comparing him to defensive rookies right now. We're comparing him to the best defensive players in the NFL, and he's ranking first, second, and third in a lot of advanced stats. Bro, hey, Commanders, man, y'all better do y'all thing. Y'all better stop him. Speaking of him, hey, man, this Eagles defensive line is no joke. Front seven, no joke. Specifically, they have the best run defense right now in the entire NFL. It's ridiculous. I mean, like right now, they're holding their opponents to just 48.3 yards per game rushing the ball. That's absolutely insane. So far, Rachaad White has been the most successful back against the Eagles with 38 yards on Monday Night Football. But it was a slog for him to find any traction on 14 carries. He ended the game just averaging 2.7 yards per carry. So the running back that's been the most productive against the Eagles so far this season only has 2.7 yards per carry. That is really bad. They have the best run defense in football right now. And the Commanders are going to have to do something to break through that, because we got to run the ball. We can't put the game on Sam Howell's shoulders. We saw that against the Bills, that he's not there yet. I think he has the talent to become that type of quarterback maybe at some point. But so far, going into his 5th start in his NFL career, his very short NFL career, again, I consider him basically a red-shirted rookie, a red-shirt freshman. He only started 1 game last year, played in 1 game last year. This is like, it feels like his rookie season, if anything. We're going to have to be able to run the ball to definitely alleviate a lot of the pressure off of him, man. I mean, and the problem is when we fall behind, you kind of get away from the run game just simply because you got to pass the ball to catch up. You're running out of time. You need points. So let's not fall behind the Eagles. But also, let's start with a really good run game in the beginning. We're going to talk about it later when we look at how the Commanders beat the Eagles last year. A lot of it was time of possession and being able to run the ball so well. And that's going to be a big key. Again, they're the best run defense in the NFL right now, but at the same time, according to Pro Football Focus, SIS, and ESPN, when you look at the composite rating, like basically averaging all of those out, the Commanders have the 3rd best run blocking offensive line in the NFL. So there's going to be a clash of the Titans, technically, according to statistics. I mean, on paper, the eye test does not look like the Commanders have the 3rd best run blocking offensive line in the NFL. It does not feel like it to me as a guy that's been watching the games. But apparently, as bad as we think it is, there are a lot of teams out there, technically 29 more teams out there that are worse. I don't know. It's weird. But so it's a clash of the Titans, the best run defense in the NFL versus the 3rd best run blocking offensive line in the NFL. This is going to be really interesting. And even just beyond that boy Brian Robinson's been going crazy right now. Right now, he's 3rd in yards per attempt amongst running backs with 47 plus carries through the first 3 weeks with 4.6. So again, so far, the best running back that's performed against the Eagles through the first 3 weeks of the NFL has 2.7 yards per carry. Brian Robinson's averaging 4.6, so another clash of the Titans. He's also first in the NFL with 16 rushes for a first down. So out of all running backs in the NFL so far through the first 3 weeks, as far as getting rushing first downs, rushing for a first down, doesn't matter if it's 10 yards away, 15, or just 2. Brian Robinson so far is the best running back in the NFL as far as rushing for first downs, for getting to that first down, converting that first down for his team. So it's a clash of the Titans, man. It's a lot of the Eagles are elite at this, and their direct matchup is also elite on the Commander side. So this is going to be really interesting. That's one of the biggest matchups. Who dominates this running the ball situation? Can the Eagles stop us, or can we run right through them? I feel like that's arguably going to be one of like the top 3 matchups to really watch, because whoever wins that matchup right there probably wins the game, because that's going to lead to time of possession, all of that type of stuff. But we'll get to that later. Also, man, the Eagles are really good at not turning the ball over. Right now, they have a +8 turnover differential right now. And we're one of the worst in the NFL. I mean, ours is terrible. We're -3. We're in the bottom 10 of the NFL. And again, the Eagles are the 3rd best. So, hey, man, and we're going to talk about this again also when we get to how we beat the Eagles last year, because we won the turnover battle. We had 2 turnovers, but they had 4. And right now, this is not looking like the same Eagles team that's going to turn the ball over. But at the same time, I mean, they were actually pretty good at not turning the ball over last year. They just had like their worst game of the season against us. Can we bring that out of them again? We got to see, man. I mean, it's so many interesting things. Also, man, when it comes to the total offense, they're 6th in 384.3 yards per game. When it comes to scoring offense, they're 7th in 28 points per game right now. That's insane. They're 2nd in rushing offense. So not only are they the best run stopping team in the NFL on defense, they're also the 2nd best running the ball on offense team in the NFL with 185.7 yards per game. Running the ball, that is absolutely insane, dog. That's ridiculous. But a lot of that is Jalen Hurts. Another interesting statistic is that they're 13th in sacks allowed with 8. We got to do better than that. Commanders D-line, y'all got to run that number up. By the time Sunday's game ends, I need the Eagles ranked lower than tied in 13th. I need them in the 20s. I'm looking for like a 5-8 sack day, please, because we may need that to win. I'm not saying that I'm highly confident that we can achieve that, but we're going to need that to win. Also, 3rd down offense, they're 5th in the NFL with the 46.5% 3rd down conversion rate. That's ridiculous. And right now, our defense hasn't been good in that area. I mean, that was one area that we excelled in last year, and we're just just not good this year. Because last year we finished first in the NFL in third down percentage allowed by our defense with 31.9%. But right now we're 20th in the NFL, allowing 41.4% to be converted. And at the same time, again, the Eagles have a 46.5%. So even though the Commanders aren't as good at stopping third downs as we were last year, so far this season, because I believe even last year through the first 3 games, we were probably around this bad. But so far this season, even though we're worse than we were last year, we're still not giving up what Eagles opponents have given up so far this season in the first 3 games. 46.5%. That's really bad. That's why they're 5th in the NFL. We can't allow them to win that matchup as well. We got to get them off the field on third downs. We got to. And then Emmanuel Forbes is going to be a big part of that, because as you've noticed that I didn't talk a lot about the passing game, but just because the Eagles have not just been going absolutely slap diddly stupid with AJ Brown and Devonta Smith yet, they've had their moments, but they haven't just gone crazy. Let's not be the game where they finally go crazy. So far, the Eagles have definitely leaned more on their running game and their ability to convert third downs and convert fourth downs with that tush push situation, all that type of stuff, for them to be undefeated right now. And also other teams turning the ball over. That turnover differential is crazy. A lot of it is the Eagles forcing it, but also it's the other teams just being stupid. And I just hope we're not stupid. But at the same time, the Eagles' passing game just hasn't been mind-blowing, and we need to keep that up. And I feel like Emmanuel Forbes is going to contribute to that a lot. I've already given you the advanced stats as to why Kendall Fuller is arguably the best cornerback in the NFL right now, especially according to Pro Football Focus. I already did that in the last video, but right now, he's leading the NFL out of all corners in single coverage, like with no help, just him mano-a-mano with the guy he's covering, and literally has like a 0 passer rating allowed, 1 interception, all that type. It's just ridiculous. But also on the other side, when you're looking at lowest quarterback rating allowed by NFL rookies so far through 3 weeks of football, Emmanuel Forbes is first by far. I mean, you have Christian Gonzalez, who a lot of people are complaining about us not taking Emmanuel Forbes over him. He's allowing an 87.6 QB rating right now. Devon Witherspoon, a lot of people consider him the best corner in the draft. I think that was a fair argument. He's allowing an 84.7, 5th place. Brian Branch of the Lions allowing an 83.2, even with that pick 6 that he has. Deontay Banks of the Giants from Maryland. A lot of people wanted him. I mean, especially Commanders, Maryland University. Of course, that connection. A lot of people saw that, and just ridiculous speed and length. He's playing for the Giants. He's allowing a 77.1. Christian Eisen from the Bucks, 76. Emmanuel Forbes is number 1, only allowing a 61.1. There's a big gap between him and the guy in 2nd place right now. Emmanuel Forbes so far has performed as the best NFL cornerback rookie, point blank period. It's not even close. I mean, he's allowed a couple of big plays, but overall, he's shutting stuff down when it comes his way. Point blank period, man. And so, man, Commanders, like I already said, just based off of what I've given you already and what the Eagles excel at, but we got to match them on the opposite end. Great run defense. We got to come with that great run offense. Turnover differential. Don't be stupid and force turnovers. I mean, it's a lot of things here, man. DeAndre Swift balling out. Let's stop that. Third down conversions. Let's shut that down as well, man. Those are some of the most important key factors that I'm pretty sure when they're looking at tape, when they're looking at film, those are the things they're looking at the most by far. I'm pretty sure a lot of it is that. And then also, I mean, they just have a lot of things like Jalen Hurts has just as many rushing touchdowns as he has passing. We need to be aware of that. 3 each. We got to be aware of those type of things. Right now, AJ Brown is leading their receiving group in receiving yards with 239. That's pretty good, but that's not just ridiculous. And it's just like, I think Emmanuel Forbes, I already gave you his stats, it's probably going to be matched up against Devonta Smith, if anything, just off a profile. Emmanuel Forbes is quick and long. I feel like that's a better matchup for Devonta Smith. We saw Benjamin St-Juste pretty much shut down AJ Brown in one of those games last year. So, hey, man, I think he'll probably be matched up against him the most. But at the same time, again, Kendall Fuller statistically is one of the best corners, if not the best corner in the NFL right now. So get him involved as well. But at the same time, even though AJ Brown is leading their team in receiving yards, Devonta Smith is leading their team in receiving touchdowns with, again, only 2. Again, their receiving attack hasn't been dominant. Let's not be the game where they get on track. You know what I'm saying? And right now, out of all of the players on their defensive line leading their team in sacks, you have Jordan Davis, Josh Sweat, and Jalen Carter each with 1.5. But Jalen Carter's just been dominating as far as pressures, hurries, and all that type of stuff. But as far as getting to the quarterback, the Commanders are ahead of the Eagles right there. But yeah, as you notice, out of those 3 guys that are tied for the league on the Eagles as far as sacks go, 2 of them are Georgia Bulldogs. I'm just saying. Let's go ahead and move on. So now, after looking at what the Eagles do so well, let's look at what the Commanders don't do well and where we need to improve, regardless of who the opponent is. The rest of this video that we've already done, the first 20 minutes, was based on, okay, this is what the Eagles do well. That's what we need to focus on with the stop. Now, let's look at what the Commanders don't do well, and it doesn't matter who we're playing against. It doesn't matter if it's the Eagles, any other opponent in the NFL. These are things we need to improve on regardless. I don't care what's going on. First of all, we got to do better with getting the ball to Terry McLaurin. Of all number 1 receivers in the NFL, he has been the least targeted, which is absolutely insane. We got to do better in that. That's incredible. And at the same time, Fox came out with their top 10 NFL cornerbacks right now. They have Sauce Gardner number 1, Patrick Surtain number 2, and I got to look at the All-22 to see what Terry McLaurin did against him, but he didn't have a fantastic day. Jair Alexander, we already seen Terry McLaurin kill him. He's 3rd. Darius Slay 4th. We've seen Terry McLaurin kill him. You have Jalen Ramsey 5th. Trevon Diggs 6th. We've seen Terry McLaurin kill him as well. The only time Trevon Diggs got the better of Terry McLaurin, it was more so just bad quarterback play. Denzel Ward of the Browns, I can't remember. I think Terry McLaurin got him, but I can't remember. Tariq Woolen from the Seahawks 8. Stephon Gilmore of the Cowboys, but when Terry McLaurin was killing them last year, he was on the Colts. That's number 9. And Xavier Howard 10 on the Dolphins. That's crazy that the Dolphins have 2 top 10 corners while also having the best offense in the NFL right now. That's just absolutely insane. That team is so fun to watch and just ridiculous statistically, but I'm digressing. Either way, though, also when you're looking at just base stats right now, Washington Commanders wide receivers through the first 3 games are 27th in receiving yards with 365. That's not good. Tied for 28th in yards per reception with 9.9. Not good. Tied for 24th in receptions of at least 16 yards, only 7. 31st in yards after catch, 83. That's terrible. 27th in receptions for first downs, 17 only. 23rd in numbers of go routes with 21. So we're not even like calling a lot of plays for them to go up and try to have an explosive offense. But a lot of that is the offense line even blocking long enough for us to even call go routes for them to even make sense. But that yards after catch, us being 31st in the NFL in that right now for our receiving group is insane. Because if anything, we thought like bringing Eric Bieniemy in would be a way for us to get the ball to our playmakers in situations to where they can get more yards after the catch. And if anything, we've only gotten worse so far through 3 weeks. Technically, the first 2 weeks we were better than last year under Scott Turner, but then we were just so abysmal and so bad against the Bills that now we went all the way down to 31st and plummeted. So I mean, small sample size, we'll see how that goes. Now, when you hear all of those stats, you just assume, okay, Sam Howell has to be better at seeing the field, getting the ball to the receivers. You think, oh, the offense line has to block for Sam Howell better so that these receivers have time to get open. You also think maybe Eric Bieniemy needs to do a better job of scheming these guys open. Now, you would be right for all of those, but at the same time, man, we got to place a lot of this blame on the receivers, bro. Look at this screenshot right here. Like, who's open, dog? Like, come on, bro. We gotta be better. Y'all gotta separate better than this, man. This is a play where Sam Howell ends up getting sacked. This is actually the 9th sack of the game. He's like literally about to get sacked real soon from where you see this screenshot being taken place, and like literally nobody's open, nobody's separating. What's going on here, receivers? I rock with you, Terry McLaurin. I love you, Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel, all of y'all guys, but why are y'all not getting this open? So let's take a look at some advanced stats as well. It's not just this screenshot. That's not just one play. It's not like I just found the one play where they're not separating and being like, look at them. No, this is like a consistent thing. Because right now, Terry McLaurin with 2.9, as far as, Next Gen does their separation stat, which measures yards from a defender at the time of catch or incompletion. Terry McLaurin's 2.9 ranks 64th amongst 134 qualified players at any position, receivers, tight ends, running backs, whatever you want to call them. While also Jahan Dotson is 92nd on the list with 2.7, even worse than Terry McLaurin. And that's even barely ahead of Logan Thomas, who's 96th, and Cole Turner, who's 121st. But Cole Turner catches everything that comes his way, so it doesn't really matter. Meanwhile, Curtis Samuel, can't blame him. He's leading the NFL right now at 4.9. Again, the stat is yards from a defender at the time of completion or incompletion. Curtis Samuel leads the NFL with 4.9. And again, just to review, Terry McLaurin is 64th. Jahan Dotson is 92nd. Logan Thomas is 96th. And Cole Turner is 121st. Can y'all please make it easier for Sam Howell? And also Eric Bieniemy a little bit too, but mostly Sam Howell. Can y'all get open, man? Terry McLaurin, I don't know what's going on. I guess I got to look at the all-22. Right now, I'm just being a stat sheet watcher right now. I'm just being a stat nerd. I haven't had the time to really just dive into the all-22 to really see like what's going on with Terry McLaurin, why he's not getting open. Is he getting double teamed? Like, I mean, those stats don't tell the whole story. Maybe there's 2 DBs on him, and the reason he's not separating is because he's not trying to run away from one guy. He's trying to run away from 2. I highly doubt that's the case consistently, though. Right now, those guys just aren't separating the way that we'd expect and the way that they were doing last year. I mean, even if you look at this chart right here, if you're looking for Terry McLaurin, he's somewhere all the way to the left. That's not really good. Around Donovan Peoples-Jones, Isaiah Hodgins, DJ Chark, Darnell Mooney, somewhere around in that area. Then Jahan Dotson, he moves to the right, but he's down somewhere around Kendrick Byrne, and then Juju Smith-Schuster. Then you have Curtis Samuel all the way up there with Amon-Ra St. Brown, Cortland Sutton, Adam Thielen. That's pretty good company to be around. Right now, Curtis Samuel is looking like our best receiver. Right now, and it's crazy too, because Curtis Samuel has 12 targets compared to Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson, who each have 16. And at the same time, Curtis Samuel's 37-yard catch is the longest of any Commanders wide receiver so far this season. So right now, Curtis Samuel's getting less targets than Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson, but is actually playing the best. But at the same time, you got to think about the fact that Curtis Samuel, technically wide receiver 3, according to just the way the roster set up and things like that. So he's technically going against like the 3rd best corner of opposing teams. Technically, not all the time, but a lot of the time. So maybe that's why. But at the same time, Curtis Samuel is performing better than Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson right now, just according to a lot of the advanced stats, which makes sense. Like, I mean, you would hope so, because he's our 2nd biggest cap hit out of our entire team right now. I mean, it's Jonathan Allen right now eating up $21 million, almost 22. Curtis Samuel's eating $13 million worth of our cap space right now, just this season alone. He's the 2nd highest cap hit. Behind him is Kendall Fuller, then it's Montez Sweat, then it's Terry McLaurin. And then you got to go way down to get to Jahan Dotson, because remember, he's a 1st-round pick rookie. So he's not really near the top. He's below Tress Way right now, below Cody Barton, below Andrew Wiley, all that type of stuff. So, hey, man, I'm glad that Curtis Samuel, he is the 2nd biggest cap hit. And right now, according to advanced stats, he's our best performing receiver. So I say get the ball to him a little bit more. But at the same time, don't forget about Terry McLaurin, because, again, he's been targeted the least out of any wide receiver in the NFL. And some of that is bad, but also you got to think about the fact that, again, the reason why I say the Commanders don't really have a lot of great fantasy football options is because everybody eats. We have so many playmakers. We have so many weapons that it's hard to truly depend on one guy to consistently dominate fantasy football wise. Like Justin Jefferson, they're going to throw him the ball no matter what all the time, because that's the guy. I wish Terry McLaurin kind of was like that for us, but at the same time, when you look at it another way, it's kind of a good thing he is it, because that means that our receiver group, our running backs, and our tight ends are just that good that it's just not even worth forcing him the ball all the time. But I definitely feel like we should probably force him the ball a little bit more. I mean, it seemed like in the 1st quarter against the Bills, he was getting looks a lot, and he was always open, kept making every catch. I'm surprised that we went away from him at a certain point. But again, it's not just Sam Howell, it's not just Eric Bieniemy, it's not just his offensive line. The receivers have to be better. Terry McLaurin shouldn't be 64th in anything in the NFL. Jahan Dotson shouldn't be 90-something in anything in the NFL as well. Just got to be better, point blank, period. Also, Warren Sharp brought up a great point here. Moving on to the quarterback, let's get to Sam Howell. There have been 212 touchdown drives this season. Only on 13 of them, literally 6.1%, did the offense allow a sack at any point in that drive. So basically, if you get sacked at any point in your offensive drive, you have a 6.1% chance of scoring a touchdown, according to the entire NFL right now. The lowest rate of touchdown drives allowing a sack we've seen since 2016. That's crazy. So right now, if you're allowing a sack, your chances of scoring a touchdown is the lowest it's been in the NFL since 2016. That's crazy. So we got to get away from allowing sacks, bro. We got to cover that up. And again, some of that is on the offensive line. Some of that may be on Eric Bieniemy. And now that I've pointed it out, some of that may even be on the receiver group not getting open and Sam Howell having no options to throw to. But, I mean, it's just bad, bro. Percentage of drives, an offense allows at least one sack in 2023 right now. We're leading the NFL at 37%. The Tennessee Titans are second with 36%. Chicago Bears tied for third with the Giants, 34%. And then the Texans are fifth at 33%. So if you see what I'm saying right now, it's hard to score. It's amazing that we're doing as well scoring the ball like we've been so far, other than the Bills game, just off of the fact that if you allow a sack in a drive, you have a 6.1% chance of scoring a touchdown. Again, the lowest since 2016. And we have the largest percentage of drives where we've allowed a sack so far this season. Yeah, we're just hurting ourselves, man. You can't win games like that, especially against an Eagles. Again, we're looking at things that regardless of who we're going against, we got to fix them. But against the Eagles, we definitely can't have that. And again, you can blame a lot of people. Sam Howell's one of them. Because while Howell has been sacked 19 times this season, Pro Football Focus is attributing only 10 of those sacks to a blocker. The other 9 are completely on Sam Howell, according to Pro Football Focus. Howell has been pressured 48 times on the season, but his offensive line has only been attributed 26 of those pressures in 11 hurries. So a lot of that, they're basically blaming on Sam Howell holding the ball too long or running into pressure or things like that. And for some perspective, the worst graded pass blocking unit on Pro Football Focus, the Pittsburgh Steelers, has been attributed 30 hurries and 39 pressures. Kenny Pickett has been pressured 53 times this season, but has only taken 8 sacks compared to Sam Howell's 19. Come on, dog. The Pittsburgh Steelers, according to Pro Football Focus, is the worst pass blocking offense line in the NFL. And even with that, Kenny Pickett's only been sacked 8 times. Sam Howell's been sacked 19. So just that alone shows that, again, there's a lot of places to blame, but Sam Howell, you're a lot of it. A lot of it. That's ridiculous. Also, shouts out to my boy Tailgate Ted for pointing this out and John Kahn for talking about it. But he was talking with Logan Paulson, and they talked about how it's Sam Howell's job right now to set up the protection. And it's kind of weird asking a redshirt rookie freshman quarterback that's going into his 5th start this upcoming Sunday to handle responsibilities like that. So a lot of that could be on him, not only just holding the ball too long, but pre-snap being able to identify and change protections, potential blitzes and stuff like that, and pointing the offensive line, potentially maybe a running back to pick up a blitzer or something. Like, a lot of that is on Sam Howell's plate right now. He has the full keys to the offense. They're not babying him right now. And so now we got to kind of take a step back and look like maybe we should baby him a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we should baby Sam Howell just a little bit. Take a little bit off his plate. Let him adjust. Let him learn how to read defenses, not to hold the ball too long. Get the ball out of his hands. Throw it out of bounds if he has to. Let him learn all of that stuff first. And then we can throw him controlling the protections at the end. Or maybe we could just keep trying it, see if the experiment keeps working. He had one bad game with it. One really bad game with it. Let's not underestimate that. But it was still only one bad game. Let's see he can bounce back against the Eagles. And then if it's consistent, like, he just shouldn't do that. He shouldn't be the one controlling protections and stuff like that and changing protection assignments. We'll just see. If it's not looking too good, if it's just consistently bad, then take it away from him. Also, moving on, Rigo's Rags, Jonathan Ike brought up a good point. He has an article basically saying the 5 Commanders offseason decisions in 2023 that already look like a disaster. First of all, the Commanders trading up for KJ Henry. I mean, I forgot he was even on the team at this point. Also drafting Quan Martin. Now, I just think that it's going to take time. I think Quan Martin's going to be a great DB for us, but it's just going to take time. But that's a good point. So far, I mean, a 2nd round pick. And I mean, first of all, he's been hurt and out with a concussion. But it's bad. It's just, even when he was on the field in the preseason, it didn't look good. And I think he played last week against the Bills. I don't even remember him being out there. So it sucks because it's a 2nd round pick. You expect the 2nd round pick to not only be an immediate starter, but a strong contributor. So, hey, I can admit right now that's not looking too good, even though I still believe in him. Also, drafting Braden Daniels. Even if he wasn't on IR right now, he wasn't going to be good enough to play for you. Also, replacing Cole Holcomb with Cody Barton, not looking like a good move right now. We could have just paid Cole Holcomb the little bit of extra money that he wanted to keep him. I feel like our linebacker group would be better. Now, Cody Barton was better against the Bills, but he wasn't good against the Bills. He was terrible week 2, but he was better week 3. So he's improving, but still, man, I would prefer to have Cole Holcomb right now for sure. And then lastly, the Commanders signing Andrew Wiley. He just simply hasn't been good. I don't know why Pro Football Focus hasn't been killing him the way that I feel like they keep acting like he's not the worst offensive player we have out there right now. Even some games they're acting like he's not our worst offensive lineman, like, just period. But right now, if you're looking at sacks allowed, Andrew Wiley leads our team with 3, tied with Sadiq Charles with 3. Charles Leno and Nick Gates each have 2, and then Samuel Cosme hasn't allowed a single sack, which I'm not surprised. I knew before the season even started, Samuel Cosme was going to be our best offensive lineman. He hasn't played as well as I hoped. He hasn't played at an all-pro level, but I definitely think he has all-pro talent and all-pro potential to literally be like the next Brandon Sheriff. He just got to play like it a little bit better. But still, he hasn't allowed a single sack. Meanwhile, Andrew Wiley and Sadiq Charles are leading our team in sacks allowed. I mean, what kind of free agency signing did we make? But at the same time, man, just the whole offensive line in general, Howell has been pressured on 36.6% of his passes so far this season. That's the 4th highest in the league. And that has also been done while facing rushes of 5 defenders or more only 20.3% of the time, the third lowest in the NFL. So it's not even like teams are blitzing us like that. It's like they're literally only sending 4 guys at us at most, the majority of the time. Basically, like 80% of the time, it's only 4 guys coming at us, and yet our offensive line has allowed the 4th most pressures in the NFL. That's ridiculous. So again, some of it's on Sam Howell, like I already said. Some of it's on the receiver group. Some of it's on the Eric Bieniemy. Offensive line just got to be better, point blank, period, as well. I don't know why ESPN and all of those advanced metric guys and Pro Football Focus feel like we have the 14th best pass blocking offensive line in the NFL. According to those stats I just gave you, allowing the 4th most pressures, it doesn't sound like it. But again, there's a lot of blame to go around. Maybe they feel like it's just so much Sam Howell that it's not really the offensive line's fault. Also, another interesting stat is the fact that even though we're 2-1, we're 28th in the NFL in point differential. That's terrible. That sounds like a 1-2 team, even arguably like a 0-3 team right now. But a lot of that, again, the data's skewed. I mean, if you think about it, after the first 2 weeks, we weren't nowhere near 28th. I'm pretty sure we were like in the top, somewhere in the middle of the league, like 15, 16, 17, 18, somewhere around there. That third game against the Bills is skewing a lot of our data the wrong way. I mean, third down conversions allowed by the defense, third down conversions converted by the offense. Just a bunch of stats just plummeted. Sacks allowed, pressures allowed, plummeted after that Bills game. But at the end of the day, through the first 3 weeks, you got to include that Bills game. Now, I hope it's an outlier, but as so far we've seen right now, we're not sure who are we really. We're 28th in point differential, which is the type of point differential that a 0-3 team will have right now. So it's nice to be 2-1, but how good are we actually? You know what I'm saying? Now moving on to the defense. I already brought up these stats earlier. Shouts out to my boy Tan Top Podcast. I brought this up in my previous video yesterday, doing a whole breakdown of advanced stats from that Bills versus Commanders game. But I just want to bring it up again, just defensive line wise. Already talked about it earlier in the video as well. Through 3 games, the Commanders defense is 20th in the NFL in allowing teams to convert third downs at 41.4%. And they finished last year first with only allowing 31.9%. So we got to get back to that, man. We got to get back to that. We really, really do. But at the same time, man, Montez Sweat is going crazy. Chase Young looks good coming back. He's mattered. He's definitely, like, especially that Broncos game, he's super mattered. But right now, Montez Sweat, out of all edge rushers in the NFL right now so far through the first 3 games of the 2023 season, he's tied for first in sacks with 3. He's second in tackles for losses with 8. He's first in forced fumbles with 2. Second in pressures with 16. Tied for third with 8 hurries, and tied for second with 7 QB hits. That's ridiculous. He's pass rushed 81 times and has generated pressure on 21% of his pass rush attempts. That's an elite level play right there, bro. That guy's not playing. Shouts out to my boy Mark Tyler of Hogs Haven for presenting those stats right there, man. Shouts out to my boy. Also, moving on, before we dive into what the Commanders got to do better and like how we beat the Eagles last year and can we replicate that going into this year, I love Eric Bieniemy's whole mindset towards everything right now. I absolutely love some of the quotes that he gave us. I believe it was earlier today. Maybe some of it was yesterday, but I think it was earlier today. But a lot of y'all are probably watching this on Friday and not Thursday because it's so late. It's already 9:30 and I'm 45 minutes into this recording. We'll see how long it takes to edit and get it out to y'all. But either way, Thursday, September 28th, I believe it was, Eric Bieniemy was straight up asked, like, what's going on? Is a lot of this your fault? All of that type of stuff. And he said, quote, "My job is to make sure we're doing everything to help drag our A-words across the finish line. Obviously, I ain't do a good job, whether we threw the ball or whether we ran it. So my job is to make sure that, you know what, that doesn't happen again. My job is to clean up the S-word and we continue moving forward." Hey, man, I love that mentality. I also love the fact that he takes accountability, man. He also said, quote, "Sometimes you have bad days. Now, the only thing I'm measuring is to see how we respond. We're growing as a team. We're discovering who we are. We're 2-1. The sky hasn't fallen. The sun is still coming up," unquote. And I definitely believe in that. Now, again, for the point differential point that I brought up, our 2-1 doesn't feel the same as other teams' 2-1s. But at the same time, we're still 2-1. Like, we had one, it was a really bad game, but it only counts as 1 L. It's not like we were so bad against the Bills. The NFL is just going to look at us like, nah, y'all deserve more than 1 L with how bad that was. It's still only 1 L. If we can fix things and improve and all of that type of stuff, we can still be a really good team. I think we're definitely playoff contenders. Now, we went against a Super Bowl contender, an elite Super Bowl contender, and we didn't look like one of those. So maybe we become one by the end of the season, but as of right now, we're definitively not a Super Bowl contender. We saw that last Sunday. But I still feel like we're playoff contenders, and I love Eric Bieniemy's optimism and mentality going into this. Now, let's also look at how we beat the Eagles last year, because I feel like that has some keys to it. Now, this is a different Commanders team dramatically. This is a different Eagles team as well. Again, they lost some key players, but they also gained a few more, most notably a lot of Georgia Bulldogs that are dominating and making a big impact for their team. Again, not to brag too much, but we got to dive into like what we did last year and can we repeat those things, or was some of that luck or whatever. But first of all, the Commanders have won 2 of our last 3 games at Lincoln Financial Field. So can we win 3 or 4? Let's see, man. That's actually a pretty cool stat. As great as the Eagles have been, we beat them 2 out of the last 3 times we played them in Philadelphia. Really interesting. Now, let's take a look at some interesting stats from that previous game. First of all, like I already mentioned earlier, we had 2 turnovers, which is not good at all. But the Eagles had 4. And again, they were a great turnover differential team last year, just like they are this year. For some reason, somehow, we were able to force 4 turnovers last year. Even though the last one was kind of but still, I'll take it, man. We won the turnover battle. We won the turnover differential battle, so that's why we won that. We also out-yarded them by total yards, 330 to the 264. We also ran way more plays than them. We ran 81 plays to their 47. Turnovers had a lot to do with that. Also, running the ball really well had a lot to do with that, because we only outpassed them by 8 yards, but we outran them 152 yards to 94. That's crazy. We had 49 rushing attempts to their 20. Like, the Eagles are known as this dominant running game offense, arguably the best running football team in the NFL, and we completely outran them. And they had more yards per rush than we did, 4.7 to our 3.1, but we just ran it so much and they just couldn't stop it. It was nothing they could really do. Also, we had less penalties and less yards than them. We had 5 penalties for 58. They had 7 for 75. That's something we need to pay attention to as well. We got to be the more disciplined team. We can't beat ourselves against a team that good. We can't. If we're out here committing all kinds of penalties, especially like stupid ones, like mental ones, we have really no chance of winning this game. But the biggest stat of all as to why we won that game is that time of possession. Now, that has a lot to do with the turnovers and the running game, like I already talked about. We had a 40-minute, 24-second time of possession to their 19-minute, 36 seconds. That's literally why we won that game 32-21, dog. I mean, there's a lot of factors that led to that, but when you look at that stat sheet, that's the one that sticks out the most. Like, what happened there? That almost makes you want to go back and look at the game like, golly, did we really have the ball 2/3 of the game? Like, literally out of 60 minutes, we had it for 40 minutes, over 40 minutes by a few seconds. That's crazy. That's insane. I don't think we can repeat that, man. Hopefully we can repeat some of those other things, but you just can't expect to go into a game and be like, yeah, we're going to have 40 minutes of time of possession out of 60 minutes. You just can't expect that. So I'm hoping we can repeat that, but I doubt it. So we're going to have to find other areas to improve in to hope to be able to beat these guys, man. And then also, before we get up out of here, injury report wise, and the Eagles, whoo, theirs is extensive. Now, don't sleep on ours, because we have players on IR. So even though our injury report isn't that bad, it doesn't look that bad, because injured reserve players aren't included on the injury report. But boy, that Eagles right now, man, it looks like they may be without safety Sidney Brown, safety Justin Evans. Devonta Smith hasn't participated in practice. I mean, but it was illness, so maybe he'll be ready to go. Then they have a lot of limited guys like Fletcher Cox and Cam Jurgens, Quez Watkins, a lot of guys like that. Meanwhile, on our end, the only guy that hasn't participated in practice, well, didn't participate on Thursday, was Chris Rodriguez. He's been dealing with an illness. It's crazy, too, because he was limited Wednesday and it didn't participate on Thursday. Did the illness get worse? Percy Butler was limited Wednesday and Thursday's practices with a foot injury. We'll see if he's ready to go. And then we're good. Emmanuel Forbes, Benjamin St. Juste, they look good to go. Full participants every day in practice. I'm surprised they're even on the injury report. And then you have tight end Logan Thomas, concussion protocol, limited Wednesday, but today full participant. He's back, ready to go. I'm pretty sure, I bet my life savings he's going to play against the Eagles. I think he's going to go. I'm pretty sure he's already passed concussion protocol. So we'll have Logan Thomas back. And hey, man, a lot of that scoring we were doing against the Broncos, man, that one of our best touchdowns was somehow Logan Thomas, even through the dirty hit, making that touchdown catch. And that was huge for us, from us amounting that comeback, because that was one of our earlier touchdowns from what I remember. So, man, he's a big part of this team. Even though the separation statistics I gave you earlier, he's not that good. He's better at separating than Cole Turner so far. And I love Cole Turner, catches everything thrown towards him. But Logan Thomas is a big part of his offense. I'm happy to have him back. But speaking of IR, like I said earlier, I'm not sure about y'all, but I kind of forgot Fadarian Mathis was even on the team. That's another second-round pick curse guy right there. Quan Martin's not looking too good so far, even though I still believe in him. But, man, We're going into week 4 of the NFL season. For Darian Mathis, we put him on IR. He has to miss a minimum of 4 weeks. So this week isn't a week where we're like, okay, you should be ready yet. But I'm looking at you like keeping my antennas up like, hey, for Darian Mathis, what you looking like week 5? Like, you have to spend a minimum of 4 weeks on the IR once you get placed on IR. Week 5, are you good to go? Or is this like a longer lingering situation? Because so far, this man has played with a total of like 7 plays for the Commanders right now, maybe even less than that, since we drafted him in the 2022 NFL draft as a second round pick. Come on, dog. We've had 20 available regular season games, and he's played in 6-7 plays maybe. That's terrible, dog. Like, really bad. So for Darian Mathis, again, we're not expecting you to play this week because you literally can't. But I just want to keep people aware that, hey, man, for Darian Mathis still on the team, and we need to be watching out for him going into that week 5 game, the game after this one against the Eagles. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. This video ended up being way longer than I expected. This has been a 52-minute recording at this point. I don't know what it's going to end up being by the time I'm done editing and everything, but wow. I knew I had a lot of stuff, but I didn't know it was going to be that crazy. But man, I had fun, man. Y'all know I love diving into stats and doing like full, really detailed breakdown. So, hey, man, if you really appreciate content like this, and if you want more content like this every week, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. And if you appreciate all the work and time I put into this, if you want to support the channel, donate to the CashApp $RicoScores, and also donate to the PayPal WilliamAC94@gmail.com. If you feel it in your heart, if you're feeling real kind, feeling real heartfelt for any reason, those are the places you can support the channel through. And because right now YouTube is tripping, so man, I really appreciate y'all. I'm gonna catch y'all later. Of course, I will be live streaming the entire Eagles game. So make sure y'all pull up for that. Same YouTube channel, all of that. I'm gonna catch y'all later, man. Appreciate y'all. I'm out.